It's Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Good evening and welcome to the daily happenings inside our federal machine. This is Spathon and it's time to plunge into the swamp. HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sat before the Senate Finance Committee today over the sweeping CDC reforms he rolled out. During the hearing, he explodes at several committee members in a flurry of back and forth battles. And Governor Ron DeSantis secures a major legal victory from the 11th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals to keep Alligator Alcatraz open for business after a lower court ordered the dismantling of the detention center, but appeals will continue to fight to shut it down. President Trump signs an executive order implementing the new U.S.-Japan trade agreement. And FBI Director Kash Patel announced the FBI prevented a potential preschool massacre, and we'll get into the details. Lower federal courts have been openly defying the Supreme Court for some time while delivering a massive blow to the rule of law. Then they gripe about it anonymously to the press after the Supreme Court cleans up their mess, and we'll look into that a little further. The Trump administration has purged a large number of climate change and other progressive regulations, which is projected to save businesses up to $5 trillion over just the next year alone. And the mayor of Seattle is providing cover for a criminal illegal immigrant by the name of Mohammed Chaudhry, unhappy about his arrest by ICE, and the mayor is downplaying the seriousness of his crimes as a result. The Department of Homeland Security corrects the record with the real facts. And a lot more happened today, so we're just going to dive right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and please subscribe and all that good stuff. And if you leave a comment on the next video, or on tonight's video rather, then I might just read your comment on the next episode if you decide to drop one. And everything that I share in the video today was posted no more than 24 hours ago. Most of these posts and articles, however, were posted in just the last 12 hours, and most probably even sooner than that. At least I'm almost certain that the majority of these articles were posted probably within like the last 8 hours, if I'm being honest. So we're going to start right here with Ron DeSantis. The mission continues at Alligator Alcatraz. The media was wrong. The leftist judge has been overturned. Florida will keep leading the way. Let's check it out.
The mission continues on immigration enforcement. The media was giddy that somehow Alligator Alcatraz was, quote, shutting down. And we told them that that wasn't true. There have been illegal aliens continuing to be there and being
staying
removed
open,
and returned
baby,
to their home country. But they ran with the narrative.
Of course they did.
Some leftist judge ruled implausibly that somehow Florida wasn't allowed to use our own property to help the federal government in this important mission. They didn't do an environmental impact statement. Well, we said we would fight that. We said the mission would continue. And I'm pleased to say that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has just stayed that ruling and stayed the case. So Alligator Alcatraz is, in fact, like we've always said, open for business.
Let's go, Governor!
The mission continues, and we're going to continue leading the way when it comes to immigration enforcement.
Oh, so proud I voted for Governor Ron DeSantis. More than once, of course. So it's kind of a bummer that he's only going to be governor for just a short time longer. But I mean, he has absolutely crushed it as governor for our state. Just announced yesterday that they are getting rid of all vaccine mandates in the state of Florida. All of them, not just COVID, every last single fucking one of them. And I think that's a good thing because it's my body, my choice, as the Democrats would say. So I don't see any problem with it. If you don't want to get a vaccine, then that's fine. You're only putting yourself at risk when it comes to contracting any kind of virus or disease or whatever the hell it might be. Because if everybody else has a vaccine, they're covered. They're good as far as that's concerned. So if you don't get one, then, I don't really see how you're putting other people at risk necessarily. I mean, that's just my opinion. But I'm no medical expert or anything. So we're going to move to Attorney General James Utmeyer, victory secured against activist judge who held me in contempt. The 11th Circuit not only blocked Judge Williams' order to close Alligator Alcatraz, but they blocked her from proceeding with the case until the appeal is complete. A win for Florida and President Trump's agenda. Hell yeah, I'm giving that one a like for sure. And we're going to move to Eric Daugherty. Just now, Obama Judge Kathleen Williams' declaration that she's president of the United States is terminated. An appeals court decided she was not in her legal rights to unilaterally close up Alligator Alcatraz in South Florida. Article 2 wins. Florida wins. And from Bill Milligan, breaking federal appeals court, 11th Circuit, blocks Obama-appointed federal judge Kathleen Williams' order to close down Alligator Alcatraz and halt all construction there. Additionally, she is blocked from proceeding with the case until Florida appeal is complete. Big W for Florida and DHS. And this is from the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit. And let's see, it's addressed to, Friends of the Everglades Incorporated, Center for Biological Diversity. Those are the plaintiffs, the leftists most likely, and the Miccosukee Tribe of Indians of Florida. And the Secretary of the United States, Department of Homeland Security. These are the defendants. Acting Director of the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Executive Director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management. And it looks like this occurred in Miami-Dade County. Order of the court. Before Jordan Branch and Lagoa Circuit Judge says on August 21st, 2025, the district court issued a preliminary injunction barring Florida and the United States from engaging in any additional construction at the detention facility known as Alligator Alcatraz and ordering the site closed and dismantled within 60 days. The state and federal defendants have filed motions to stay that injunction pending appeal. After careful consideration, we grant the defendants' motions and we stay the preliminary injunction and the underlying case itself pending appeal. Slam dunk, home run, let's go. Alligator Alcatraz stays open, guarded by 2 million alligators all around the Everglades. So let's move on to Nick Sordor. Still the same subject. Breaking, a U.S. appeals court has blocked an activist judge's order to close Alligator Alcatraz. A big win for America. Big loss for activist judges. Now, fill it to the brim with illegals. The 11th Circuit also blocked the activist judge from proceeding with the case until the appeal is resolved. And we're moving on to, it's in the same vein, has to do with illegal immigration, locking them up and getting them deported, getting them the hell out of here. From Secretary Kristi Noem, now open the Louisiana lockup. Let's check this out. Uh-oh. Sounds like copyright. Nah, that's okay. Fuck it. It's Louisiana lockup, baby. Woo! Damn, X didn't like my cursor moving across the screen there. All right, from Dr. Roger Marshall. So we're going to make a hard segue over to Secretary Kennedy. I've got a number of these lined up. I think I've got like 10 or 12 different video clips from the hearing because this episode, I only have a finite amount of time, so I can't play the entire hearing. I'm sure it was multi-hours long, so I grabbed the highlights in no exact order. I tried to put it in the best order I could, and you'll kind of see how that plays out as this goes along. So I'm just going to start with Dr. Roger Marshall. Today's hearing was another show of Trump derangement syndrome from the Democrats. The American people voted for transparency, and that is exactly what Secretary Kennedy is bringing to the CDC. Let's take a look from Fox News. Let's turn it up a little bit.
They want to be overly prescriptive.
There we go.
That here's all these vaccines that you can take. There's 20 vaccines, 76 shots. We want you to take every one of them.
They want to force you to.
Secretary Kennedy, myself, want more transparency. I want to present the evidence to you and your significant other and your children, how it applies to you. I don't know why they think everybody needs a hepatitis vaccine, every baby on day number one. Yeah, I delivered a baby almost every day for 25 years. If the mom had a negative hepatitis test, she's in a stable monogamous relationship, she's not doing IV drugs, there's no way that that baby's going to have hepatitis. We don't know what those 76 jabs are doing in that baby's immune system. So let's be a little bit more measured. Look, I'm a big fan of polio vaccinations, MMR, the DPT vaccines have done great work, but every person doesn't need every vaccine.
A lot of money in those vaccines, huh?
Let's be be transparent. Let's inform moms and dads and make decisions with your doctor. Democrats, they want to tell you what to do.
Yeah,
absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely couldn't agree more with that. So this is from Secretary Kennedy himself. Under President Trump's leadership, we at HHS Gov are enacting a once-in-a-generation shift from a sick care system to a true healthcare system that tackles the root causes of chronic disease. Finally, we have an administration that is taking action. So this one's a little bit long. I believe that this is his opening statement. So we'll have a listen.
And the invitation will be here before the committee today. Before I summarize what we've accomplished this year at HHS, I want to express my deepest condolences to the family of DeKalb County Police Officer David Rose.
Very important.
Who gave his life to stop the gunfire attack on the CDC on August 8th. Officer Rose was a veteran. He was a husband and the father of 2 children. Officer Rose's widow, whom I visited, is expecting their 3rd child. I'd like Officer Rose's family to know that he remains in our prayers and that he will continue to be in our thoughts. Let me start with the big picture. Under President Trump's leadership, we at HHS are enacting a once-in-a-generation shift from a sick care system to a true healthcare system that tackles the root causes of chronic disease.
Thank God.
Chronic diseases reach crisis proportions in our country. And finally, we have an administration that is taking action. The Maha Report assessment, which the White House released in May, was the first government analysis of the key drivers of childhood chronic disease. Ultra-processed foods, chemical exposures, physical inactivity, and over-medicalization. This month, we will follow with the Maha Report strategy, the Trump administration's solution for addressing each cause. At HHS, we haven't just been writing reports. We have been the busiest, most proactive administration in HHS history. In just half a year, we've taken on food dyes, baby formula contamination, the grass loophole, fluoride in our drinking water, gas station heroin, electronic cigarettes, drug prices,
gas station heroin, 708,
information blocking, and healthcare interoperability. We're ending gain-of-function research, child mutilation, and reducing animal testing. We are addressing cell phone use in schools, excessive screen time for youth, the lack of nutrition education in our medical schools, sickle cell anemia, hepatitis C, the East Palestine chemical spill, and many, many others. At FDA, we are now on track to approve more drugs this year than at any time in history. I'm also proud to say that HHS under President Trump is doing more with less. We have taken measures to fight waste, fraud, and abuse. Just by eliminating duplicative enrollments in CMS, we are saving taxpayers $14 billion a year. Meanwhile, we are expanding access for people who need it. We are ending racist diversity, equity, and inclusion practices and instead focusing on aiding low-income and vulnerable families, regardless of their race, which was the original intent of Title X.
Because it's illegal to discriminate based on race.
Head Start and the Administration for Children and Families. Compassion need not be the casualty of efficiency. I'd like to highlight some issues that have not gotten media attention. First, we are doing our part to fulfill the President's commitment to stop human trafficking, especially of children. We inherited a terrible humanitarian crisis from the previous administration with its open border policies.
300,000 kids missing.
Which allowed the appalling loss of 476,000 unaccompanied children.
Oh my God! Almost 500,000? Damn, talk about underreported. Dude, it's appalling that there were 300,000 reported that they estimate are missing that they can't find. It's almost 500,000, almost 500,000 children are unaccounted for. Mother of God, man.
Implemented policies now to ensure that appalling tragedy can never happen again. We have knocked on 82,000 doors and located 22,000 of those children. I promise you that we will do more in the next 3 years. We are also addressing the disastrous health conditions in tribal communities on Native American reservations. I've met face-to-face with tribal leaders in dozens of communities and tribes in Alaska, Arizona, Idaho, New Mexico, and elsewhere. And I look forward to making HHS resources more available to those communities. One of the most significant initiatives under President Trump is the Rural Health Transformation Fund, part of the president's big, beautiful bill, which will provide the greatest investment of federal money into rural health care in history.
Yep, and it's not only to try to save rural hospitals, it's also because there's been a large amount of people, particularly younger adults, who are moving to small town America, and they have been since the COVID era. And a lot of the reason had to do with remote work, getting to work from home, but also younger families and new families looking to find a more reasonable place to live in terms of cost. And that is a major reason why they're investing so much into rural America, because we're starting to see a surge in people returning to rural America, which boggles my mind. I couldn't believe that that would even happen in my lifetime, but it's happening in real time.
Finally, I would like to address the recent shakeups at CDC. These changes were absolutely necessary adjustments to restore the agency to its role as the world's gold standard public health agency with the central mission of protecting Americans from infectious disease. CDC failed that responsibility miserably during COVID, when its disastrous and nonsensical policies destroyed small businesses, violated civil liberties, closed our schools, caused generational damage in doing so, massed infants with no science, and heightened economic inequality. And yet all those oppressive and unscientific interventions failed to do anything about the disease itself. America is home to 4.2% of the world's population, yet we had nearly 20% of the COVID deaths. We literally did worse than any country in the world.
Oh my God, what the fuck? Is that really true? Holy shit, man. Talk about trying to hide those numbers. Anybody else hear that? I'd never heard that before. That 20% of all the COVID deaths on Earth occurred right here in America, and we're supposed to have the greatest healthcare system. I'm assuming it's probably because we're so damn overweight. Because wasn't that one of the leading causes of COVID-related deaths was obesity and morbid obesity? And once they put you on a ventilator, you're basically in hospice care at that point. That is so fucked up, man.
At CDC, who oversaw that process, who put masks on our children, who closed our schools, are the people who will be leaving. And that's why we need bold, competent, and creative new leadership at CDC.
Amen.
People able and willing to chart a new course. As my father once said, progress is a nice word, but change is its motivator, and change has its enemies. That's why we need new blood at CDC. That's also why it's imperative that we remove officials with conflicts of interest and catastrophically bad judgment and political agendas.
Absolutely.
We need unbiased, politics-free, transparent, evidence-based science in the public interest. Those are the guiding principles behind the changes at the CDC, and that is what you can expect all across our agency for the next 3 years.
All right, man. All right. So are you ready for a verbal boxing match? Because apparently it gets heated during this entire hearing, especially with the Democrats. Apparently the Democrats were really just trying to just destroy Kennedy, and he fought back spectacularly from what I've read. I haven't seen the clips. I want to react in real time, so I haven't actually seen these yet. I've just gathered the list of them, and I'm just going to watch them as they unfold. So from Dr. Roger Marshall, what Secretary Kennedy and I are fighting for is vaccine transparency. 76 jabs by 18 is excessive without clear justification. The CDC needs to get transparent about every vaccine they recommend. So hopefully I'm not going to play the same one over. If I catch one of these video clips, because I've got like 10 of them, there might be a little bit of overlap from one to the next because they're individual clips. But if we come across one, or I come across one that is just a copy, then I'll just skip it and go to the next one. So, all right, so we're going to start with this one.
And welcome, Mr. Secretary. One of your themes for the CDC is transparency. And I think when I hear you talk about transparency, I think part of that is sharing what you know, what the CDC knows with parents so that they can make decisions. Behind me, I know it's going to be hard to see from there. I can barely read it. This is the current CDC recommendations for vaccines for children. On day number 1, they get their first jab, a hepatitis vaccine. By the time they're 18 months, they've had 18 jabs. By the time they get to be old enough to vote, they have 76 jabs.
76. Good Lord.
Now, when we talk, when I listen, what I hear you say is that, look, vaccines are drugs. We need a measured response and a measured, when do we use this? It's interesting that the United States has put age 65 and older for COVID vaccine. UK has chosen 75 and France.
I was just about to ask, like, what is the average in the West as far as how many jabs? What do you say the UK has 75?
It's 80. Obviously,
or 80 in France?
Scientists disagree exactly when that should or shouldn't be.
Okay.
Well, hepatitis B vaccine, it makes no sense to me. I've only delivered 5,000 babies, but we do a hepatitis test on every mom. By the time she delivers that baby, I know her pretty well. And if she doesn't have any risk factors, if she's not an IV drug abuser, if she's in a stable monogamous relationship, nobody at home has hepatitis, I don't know. I don't see the benefit myself in that hepatitis vaccine. Everyone's eligible for it. Everyone can get it. And my pediatricians always agree with me. And no, I'm not saying if you don't know the hepatitis status of that patient, they shouldn't get it. I'm not saying if this person's had no prenatal care, that puts them at risk for hepatitis. Can you just speak a little bit, when you talk about transparency and trying to empower and make vaccines available, these should be treated just like a medication.
Okay, so we're obviously not going to catch Secretary Kennedy's response to it, but we could end up coming across it in one of these clips. So this is from Vigilant Fox. Breaking: room goes silent as an emotional RFK Jr. reveals the latest numbers on chronic disease. This is why he's cleaning house. This morning, well, it's a quote, so he's going to say it himself, so we'll just go ahead and play it.
This morning, I got the latest numbers from CDC that 76.4% of Americans now have a chronic disease.
Oh,
this
my
is
God.
Stunning. When my uncle was president, it was 11%. 1950, it was 3%. Today, it's 76.4%.
Oh, my God.
8 out of 10 of our kids cannot qualify for military service. This is a national security issue. When my uncle was president, we spent 0 on chronic disease.
Dude, let that sink in for a minute. 8 out of 10 young American adults cannot qualify for military service. 8 out of 10? Oh my God.
Hey, we spend $1.3 trillion. It's the biggest
This is a crisis.
It's increasing. And all of the arguments that Republicans and Democrats
How can you
have
argue against that?
about single payer, Obamacare, or with the various ways of allocate the health dollars, they're all like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. If we don't end this chronic disease, we are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at the CDC.
Yeah.
They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Absolutely. Hell yeah, man. And he's taking it to heart too, which is awesome. It's so good that he's doing this. I mean, absolutely incredible. And yeah, I hope he purges every last one of those corrupt motherfuckers. All right, so from Benny Johnson, RFK Jr. just went off for 2 minutes straight, tearing into the politicization of COVID. The entire room went silent again. Watch, the whole process was politicized, Senator. I mean, we were lied to about everything and so on. So a lot of quotes. We'll just watch the video.
Do you believe COVID-19 was politicized?
Yeah, the whole process was politicized. Senator, I mean,
that's why I didn't get the fucking vaccine. I didn't trust those assholes.
We were lied to about natural immunity. We were lied to about, we were told again and again the vaccines would prevent transmission, they prevent infection. It wasn't true.
Nope, wasn't true.
They knew it from the start. It wasn't true because
yep, they knew it from the start, and they even tried to twist it and frame it in a way that made it sound like that everybody really actually needed one when they really didn't. It was never a vaccine. It isn't a vaccine. It is a therapeutic. A vaccine prevents you from getting whatever it is that it's supposed to prevent you from getting. A virus, whatever you want to call it. It's supposed to stop it from being able to effectively take on itself in your system. That's what vaccines do. It's supposed to be, like, most of them are over 90% effective, if you're exposed to one of those illnesses or ailments or viruses or whatever. But COVID didn't do that. And they even admitted, at first they said that it was going to prevent you from getting COVID. But then they came out and said, well, it doesn't actually prevent you from getting COVID, but it keeps you out of the hospital. It will lessen your symptoms. It'll make your symptoms not as severe, not if, but when you caught COVID. And that's after you got the COVID vaccines and all the boosters and all that bullshit. You were going to get COVID either way. No matter what, we were going to get COVID. Absolutely corrupt.
The animal studies and the clinical trial showed. We were told that there was science behind cloth masks.
Nope.
The
that was
CDC
retarded from the start, man.
The teachers union to write the order closing.
Hey, and what about the plexiglass? That was a hell of a laugh. Remember that? In gas stations, grocery stores, all over the place, even in courtrooms. They had those stupid ass plexiglass just sheets that were just put up. Did absolutely nothing. Nothing whatsoever. I saw a simulation of what it looks like when somebody coughs in a grocery store aisle, and the particles of someone's cough, how it expands into the air. Within seconds, it disperses all across, and it starts moving down the aisle, and then it rolls over into the next aisle. I saw several different views, angles just in a grocery store setting. The same with somebody coughing in line at the checkout counter. It spreads everywhere, like extremely quickly. And those plexiglass sheets didn't do anything. They don't do anything. Same with those stupid ass cloth masks. Just absolutely pointless. There was never any point. It was all about trying to get you to be an obedient little cult member so they can walk all over you just to see how obedient that American citizens were. That's my true belief. I think that's why they did it. They didn't have any good intentions or anything. They knew that cloth masks were never going to work, but they tried. Well, in many cases, they did outright force us to wear those masks in many settings, or else you weren't allowed to come in. Sure, you're not required by law to wear a mask. I mean, in some areas you were. In blue cities, I'm sure that you were required to by law, unjust law. But you couldn't go into any of those stores and conduct any business, go grocery shopping or whatever, unless you put on your fucking mask.
Our schools, which hurt working people all over the country, and then pretend it was science-based.
It wasn't.
All of these issues, and then I can show you, like, for example, Chairman Wyden was talking about me politicizing ACIP. During COVID, probably the most famous scientist on ACIP was Martin Kulldorff from Harvard, the great world-renowned epidemiologist and vaccinologist. And he criticized the COVID booster mandates. They ejected him from COVID because he wasn't in the orthodoxy.
Because he didn't want to play ball with the cult.
Health officials at FDA during COVID, Dr. Gruber and Dr. Krause, criticized the Biden mandates, vaccine mandate. You know, President Biden said in August, I would never take that vaccine, the Trump vaccine. And he came in, he mandated it, and then he fired the two top health officials at FDA who said, hey, this thing has not been properly tested. So the whole process was politicized, and even today.
So let me, I'm 15.
All right. Good grief, man. All right, I'm going to try to hold my tongue, because I get pretty pissed off when they start talking COVID, because, that was just beyond irritating the entire time. I mean, I thank God that I happen to live in Florida, which was one of the greatest states at the time to live in, with the exception of the extreme rise in costs and everything. But all right, anyway, from Eric Daugherty, holy shit, a shouting match erupts. RFK Jr. holds nothing back. Let's take a look at this.
No safety
you can characterize it any way you want. I quoted them today. What I said was accurate. What you said were lies. You described people moving the Titanic.
Are you saying that the mRNA vaccine has never been associated with myocarditis or pericarditis in teenagers?
I am simply.
Is that what you're trying to tell us?
I am simply trying to say that the people that you have put on that panel, after firing the entire.
You're evading the question.
No, I'm asking the questions.
You're evading that question.
I'm asking the questions. Mr. Kennedy. I'm asking the questions for Mr. Kennedy on behalf of parents and schools and teachers all over the United States of America who deserve so much better than your leadership. That's what this conversation is about, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, they deserve the truth, and that's what we're going to give them for the first time in the history of that agency.
Wow, man. How dare you disrespect the American royal family? How dare you disrespect a Kennedy? Lifelong Democrat. Oh my God, dude. Yeah, this whole thing is just insanely politicized. Nick Sordor, JFK Jr. just unloaded on bureaucrats at the CDC. And of course, we've got more quotes. I'm going to turn this one down because it might be significantly louder. All right. This is from CNN. All right, here we go.
Yeah, Senator, you know, this morning I got the latest numbers from CDC that 76.4% of Americans now have a chronic disease. This is stunning. When my uncle
I cannot
was
believe that.
It was 11%. 1950 it was 3%. Today it's 76.4%. 8 out of 10 of our kids cannot qualify for military service. This is a national security issue.
Unbelievable.
When my uncle was president, we spent $0 on chronic disease. Today, we spend $1.3 trillion. It's the biggest cause.
Trillion, with a T.
And all of the arguments that Republicans and Democrats have about single-payer, Obamacare, or with the various ways to allocate the health dollars, they're all like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. If we don't end this chronic disease, we are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again.
I was saying, he ain't done yet.
Secretary.
I think maybe we actually got an overlap with that one because that exchange sounded familiar. Yeah, man, this should absolutely completely shock the entire country. That 76% of all Americans have at least one chronic disease. I just, yeah, I'm beside myself, man. I cannot believe that it's anywhere near that high. If I were to take a wild guess, I would have said maybe 20. And I would have probably put that on the higher end. I would say conservatively maybe like 15%, not fucking 76%. All right, another one from Nick Sorter. Holy crap, RFK Jr. just absolutely eviscerated Democrat Senator Ron Wyden. Let's take a watch at this.
Enacting an
See how this goes.
that I think is fundamentally cruel and defies common sense. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do I got to
Dude
reply?
looks like a member of the fucking Addams family, doesn't he? Looks like he belongs in a damn haunted house.
For how long? 20, 25 years, while the chronic disease in our children went up to 76%. And you said nothing. You never asked the question why it's happening. Why is this happening?
He's a corrupt piece of shit.
For the first time in 20 years, we learned that infant mortality
Democrats
has increased in
and
our
establishment
country.
Republicans
It's not
are.
because I came in here. It's because of what happened during the Biden administration that we're going to end.
I'm going to let Senator Wyden respond briefly to that, and then we're not going to go over like we just did.
This committee on a bipartisan basis.
How much money is this dude getting from Big Pharma? I would love to know how much money each and an individual one of these politicians is getting from Big Pharma into their campaigns, their super PACs, even the Democratic Party as a whole. It's got to be insane amounts of money. And also, how many Big Pharma companies are set up in these districts that these politicians are representing? I'd be curious to know that as well. I don't know, man. It's corruption. Oh, great. Here's Pocahontas. This ought to be rich. Holy crap. RFK Jr. just crushed Elizabeth Warren when she started pushing vaccines, and Pocahontas lost it. Well, she was pushing vaccines. I'm sure she still is. And again, this is from Nick Sorter from Fox News.
Confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
That is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them.
Well, I lied.
You just changed the classification of the
Who didn't
COVID
want 'em?
vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if
Well, there you go.
can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free.
For free.
Most Americans will be able to get it from their
No,
pharmacy
the
for free.
question is everyone who wants it. That was your promise.
I know
Mr.
I didn't.
Kennedy,
I
not
never
mine.
promised that I was going to
You didn't
recommend
promise-
products with
Oh,
which
I'm
there is no
sorry.
indication.
When you said,
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that? Because you are the one who said you would not take them away. Now, Senator Kennedy,
I'm not taking them away from anybody.
Secretary,
There you
want
go.
me to indicate a product for which there is no clinical data?
Senator,
Is that what you want?
Secretary
she
Kennedy,
does.
you said you wouldn't, and now you did.
I'm not taking them away.
Obviously-
Everybody can get access to them.
Oh, good God, she's such a fucking scumbag. She does not represent anybody except those special interest companies, those fucking big pharma and K Street, all those lobbyists. God, she is such a scumbag. Fucking evil. Here's one from Secretary Kennedy himself. I never promised that I was going to recommend products for which there was no indication. We probably already saw this. It's 13 seconds, so I might as well just give it a quick play here.
I never promised that I was going to
Loud.
recommend products for which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
He said it louder than you, Elizabeth Warren. We heard him, not you. We don't know what the fuck you just said. Secretary Kennedy, again, we became the sickest country in the world. I need to make sure this doesn't happen again. 15 seconds. Probably heard it already, but that's okay. We need to hear it again.
Country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen
Like, oh,
again.
I'm just getting started. Like, the firings have just begun. Secretary Kennedy, we need better safety studies when a product's going to be given to 76 million children.
There are 2 hepatitis vaccines, and one of them had a safety study that lasted for 4 days on 143 kids for a product that's going to be given to 76 million kids.
Wow.
The risk
Evil.
profile prior to the introduction of the vaccine, the risk of a baby dying from hepatitis B was 1 in 7 million. That means you need to give 7 million hepatitis B vaccines to prevent 1 death if you're going to give 7 million.
Right, so I give him it all. All right, Secretary Kennedy, again, I refuse to sign onto something unless I can stand behind it with scientific certainty. That doesn't make me anti-vax. It makes me pro-science.
We have
As it
to
would.
acknowledge that there was a cause. We acknowledge that there was a benefit. We can't quantify either one because of the data chaos at CDC. And that's all I'm saying. And they think I'm being evasive because I won't make a kind of a statement that's almost religious in nature.
Yeah.
Did it save 1 million lives? Well, there's no data to support that. There may be data, there's no study, there's modeling studies, there's faulty data. I'm not going to sign on to something if I can't do it to a scientific certainty. It doesn't mean that I'm, anti-vax. It just means I'm pro-science.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. Let the facts speak for themselves. And if there isn't any, why are you going to sign off on it anyway? All right, so I think we've pretty much wrapped up the video clips portion of this. So from Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill, during the pandemic, public health authorities obstructed toddlers breathing with cloth masks, gave gene-altering therapeutics to children, conspired with unions, keep schools closed, and discredited low-cost medications in favor of expensive and ineffective biologics. Americans are right to be skeptical until CDC earns their trust. Secretary Kennedy and I are rebuilding. And I believe he's HHS. He's the Deputy Secretary of HHS. Wow, man, wasn't that crazy? All right. So that was a hell of an exchange. That was a hell of a hearing. So if you got some spare time and you weren't aware that was going on today, you can watch the whole thing. I'm sure it was streamed live. It's got to be all over YouTube. And yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a banger, man. That is very interesting. He eviscerated them Democrats. All right, so let's move on to Undersecretary of Defense, Elbridge Colby. Look, man, there's a lot of names. I can't memorize all the names. I'm trying, though. All right, so moving to his post, a clear statement from Secretary of Defense about what the President's America First common sense agenda means for the Department of Defense. Under Secretary of Defense leadership, we are maintaining and extending the American military's advantages to ensure it remains the best in the world. The U.S. Armed Forces will be the sword and shield to underwrite a policy of peace through strength. And just a side note, that whole 8 in 10 Americans can't sign up for the military. So that means if there's a war that was to break out, God forbid, and if we lost, if our military gets wrecked as far as the number of casualties, we're not going to have a lot of people to replace them unless they're going to be obese or morbidly obese or have diabetes or God knows what else. I mean, that would be a catastrophe, dude. That just just displaying those statistics just shows how vulnerable that our country is, that the interior of our country is, especially when it comes to national defense or even offense if need be. All right, so we're going to watch this video here. It's about 1:30 with Secretary of Defense.
We're sleeping. China was celebrating. They're having this parade in Tiananmen Square featuring a display of advanced equipment. And they invited Putin and they invited Kim Jong-un in attendance. So what message are they trying to send, and what is the administration's response?
Well, unfortunately, the weakness of the previous administration has driven Russia and China closer together.
That ain't real.
Terrible development of a lack of American leadership and a lack of American strength. And you saw it around the world, and it manifests in what we saw on TV last night. But that's why President Trump has charged us at the Defense Department to be prepared.
A lot of trucks.
To rebuild our military in historic ways, to restore the warrior ethos and reestablish deterrence. Not because we seek conflict. We do not. And we've been...
Well, and look, like Trump already did this in his first term, if you remember. He was talking the same thing during his first term, rebuilding the military. Trump administration in his first term, they infused like somewhere between $800 and $900 billion that he put directly into the military to quote unquote rebuild it. I'm sure just bringing a lot of stuff up to date and securing just funding for munitions and all kinds of stuff.
Clear about that.
So they're about to dump a lot more money into it.
But because by being prepared, you prevent it. You ensure that the American people and the homeland are safe. And
peace through strength.
Demonstrations of parades are fine, but they don't hopefully manifest in actually military conflict. So we know what they believe and what they're about. We also know how strong we are and the military advantages we have. They know that also. Our job's to maintain those military advantages in space, in the sky.
Well, and you know, when Joe Biden or when a Democratic president, when they do a military parade, it's patriotic. But when Trump does it, it's a fucking dictatorship.
In the sea, under the sea, and with long-range fires, all the capabilities we have, Golden Dome, which is something China knows they can't replicate, and we will inside this administration. So we're going to maintain the strategic advantage. President Trump has a great relationship with President Xi, and we'll leverage that in hoping to find ways that we can work together. Otherwise, we'll always be prepared.
And what's funny is that we have the capability of shielding Canada inside the Golden Dome, too. And I can't exactly remember how Trump worded it, but he proposed the idea to the Canadian Prime Minister, and apparently he didn't really want to have anything to do with it because it sounded like Trump was going to try to secure some funding from Canada to shield them within the Golden Dome, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen. So I guess you're on your own, Canada. All right, from FBI. The FBI remains focused on protecting Americans and ending violent crime in communities across the country through Operation Summer Heat. Last week, more than 100 FBI personnel and our law enforcement partners took action to disrupt drug trafficking and remove illegal guns on the Wind River Indian Reservation in Fremont County, Wyoming. Go behind the scenes in this video from FBI Denver and learn more about it. Here, I'll go ahead and link this. If you want to check that out in the description, I'll have it up there or down there and just with justice.gov. So let's take a quick look at this here. Less than a minute. It's not that long. FBI! All right, well, they didn't show a whole lot. They just showed him just kind of gearing up and getting ready. But dude, that'd be cool to be an FBI agent. Of all the federal law enforcement, that'd probably be the coolest one to work for, in my opinion. All right. I'm not going to read the article. I'm just going to take a look because it said to see more such and such. Video and images of the press conference can be found here. Okay, so they have a press conference to this effect. So that will be linked in the description for you. This is from Caroline Levitt. From Homan, damn straight we're targeting sanctuary cities. This is from Breitbart.com. So we'll go ahead and read this article. And we'll see what their plans are. Suppose we could listen to the story. You want to listen to it? I guess we can listen to it. Give my voice a break. Let's see how this works. If it decides to work. I don't know, Breitbart. It doesn't seem to be function. Oh, I heard signs of life.
Damn straight we're targeting sanctuary cities. By Jeff Poore on September 4, 2025. During Tuesday's broadcast of Fox Business Network's Kudlow, Trump border czar Tom Homan explained why so-called sanctuary cities were a target for the Trump administration's illegal alien deportation efforts.
Okay, whatever, man. That's way too AI and fake sounding. According to Homan, the problem was more present in sanctuary cities than in those that do not offer the same policy. Quote, damn straight we're going to flood the zone, Homan said. We don't have that problem in Florida, where Governor DeSantis is requiring every sheriff in chief to work with us. We don't have that problem in Texas. We have the problem in sanctuary cities. So where are we going to put majority of our resources? In sanctuary cities, because we know we have a problem. We know public safety threat. Illegal aliens are released from the jails every single day, which makes it dangerous for the community, makes it dangerous for the officers, and makes it dangerous for the alien because anything could happen on the street arrest. Absolutely. He continued, quote, you would think they'd let us in the jail to arrest that public safety threat in the safety and security of a jail where we know weapons aren't involved. But yeah, we're sending a bunch of resources to sanctuary cities. And look, we're hiring 10,000 more officers. Where are most of them going? Sanctuary cities, because that's where the problem is. We're going to send our firefighters to the biggest fires, and those fires are in the sanctuary cities. Let's fucking go, man. All right, so that's from Breitbart. Actually, did it even have... It did have a video clip. I guess I could have played that, but that's okay. That's all right. We got the gist of it. From Secretary Sean Duffy, the safety of the American people is our top priority. We're training a new wave of inspectors to check the integrity of railroad bridges around the country to get America moving again. And this is from Texas Department of Transportation. A new tool will help Texas dock crews inspect rail bridges. Thanks to US.FRA and Secretary Duffy, our inspectors will have a new bridge training program that will help keep Texas rail bridges safe. And the FRA official profile of USDOT, Federal Railroad Administration. So let's see. I didn't know if there was... No, I thought there might have been a video associated with this. So from the FRA, they're dramatically increasing its oversight of railroad bridge safety by training all federal and state track safety inspectors to confirm the structural integrity of bridges while they perform routine inspections. And I'll link it. I won't read it. It's probably boring for probably just about everybody. So I will at least link it, though, if you have an interest in looking into that further. All right, so we'll move on to the next thing. Oh, maybe we will. Let's go back one more. There we go. From Scott Turner from HUD, right? Housing and Urban Development. Yep, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. POTUS is right. Chicago needs to be cleaned up. Just look at the weaponization that HUD ended. This Biden-era agreement with Chicago called for zoning reforms in the name of equity and environmental justice. HUD's resources are for the people, not to empower politicians and activists. And again, this is going to be from Breitbart. Pretty sure that he linked an article. Yeah, I thought I saw that when I was grabbing that. And there was actually a quick comment from Doge AI. Secretary Turner nails it. The Biden's HUD weaponization zoning reforms to push ideological agendas, not solve housing shortages. Chicago's Build Better Together's initiative funneled billions into equity theatrics while ignoring real infrastructure needs. Yeah, I'm sure they were. I have no doubt in my mind that's exactly what they were doing, because they're a bunch of racists. All right, well, yeah, we could listen to the story, listen to the AI bot, but I'm just gonna read it out. All right, President Donald Trump's Department of Housing and Urban Development in early August dismissed a case against a recycling company that Senator Jim Banks, Republican of Indiana, said was targeted by the Biden administration and local officials in the name of equity and environmental justice. Instead, Trump's HUD said they will focus on real concerns. The Department of Housing and Urban Development said it will no longer monitor a civil rights agreement with the city of Chicago, Illinois, that called for both zoning and land use reforms to limit the onslaught of polluting businesses in low-income parts of the south side and west side of Chicago. I'm not sure if this is related.
It does seem like Republicans have a decent shot to defy history. Your thoughts?
Yeah, but totally. I mean, the Democrats are...
No. They're just talking about how Democrats have gone batshit crazy. Anyway, moving on. One case involved the relocation of General Iron, a car and metal shredding operation, to the southeast side of the city. Reserve Management Group is the parent company of General Iron. In 2023, then Mayor Lori Lightfoot signed an agreement with the Biden HUD on her last day of office, and now Mayor Brandon Johnson said he would uphold it. the HUD reversed the Biden-era finding, saying they wanted to focus on real concerns about fair housing. In that case, HUD is reversing initial findings that the complainants had made a valid argument that residents' civil rights were violated because of the city's policies allowing a discriminatory practice. HUD, the city, and 10 affordable housing organizations seemed close to signing an agreement earlier this year. In both cases, HUD sent letters dated Wednesday to the complaining groups using the same language explaining the decision to dismiss the matters. In separate letters, the agency said earlier decisions are being reversed and the agency is taking action as a result of the Department of Housing and Urban Development's decision to prioritize enforcement activities that address real concerns regarding fair housing. And the article continues for a bit longer. It'll be linked. That'll be the second Breitbart link down below in the description. And we're going to move down into the next one from Speaker Mike Johnson. Unbelievable! On the eve of the 250th anniversary of our declaration, a sitting U.S. senator insists that we should not longer hold the most basic self-evident truth. Tim Kaine, if our rights are given by government and not by God, then the government can simply take them away. We know that Democrats would love that, but you are not supposed to say it out loud. So this is from Senator Ted Cruz. Our rights don't come from government or the DNC. They come from God. At Tim Kaine, I suggest the Dems go back and read the words of our founding fathers. Take a look.
The notion that rights don't come from laws and don't come from the government, but come from the Creator, that's what the Iranian government believes. So the statement that our rights do not come from our laws or our governments is extremely troubling.
So Senator Kaine said in this hearing that he found it a radical and dangerous notion that you would say our rights came from God and not from government. I just walked into the hearing as he was saying that, and I almost fell out of my chair. Because that radical and dangerous notion, in his words, is literally the founding principle upon which the United States of America was created. And if you do not believe me, and you made reference to this, Mr. Barnes, then you can believe perhaps the most prominent Virginian to ever serve, Thomas Jefferson, who wrote in the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident. That all men are created equal.
Yep, amen.
And that they are endowed by their Creator. Not by government, not by the Democratic National Committee, but by God.
Yep, they are evil. To them, there's no truth but power. That is the motto of the Democratic Party in 2025. Moving on to Caroline Leavitt. Trump to rename the Pentagon, restoring historic Department of War in latest military move. This is from Fox News. And hopefully it's already sized up okay. It usually is. Trump to rename Pentagon. And it looks like we got a video here associated with it. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, courageous Americans want to do tough, gritty things to defend freedom. Well, it's not exactly related to it, so I'll just skip it and we'll just go straight to the article. President Donald Trump will sign an executive order Friday to alter the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, reverting to the agency's former namesake, Fox News Digital has learned. Both Trump and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth have recently indicated they want to change the name of the agency. It is one of several initiatives the Trump administration has spearheaded as part of his Warrior Ethos campaign within the Pentagon. A White House official confirmed to Fox News Digital Thursday that Trump would roll out the name change on Friday. The executive order calls for using the Department of War as a secondary title for the Department of Defense, along with phrases like Secretary of War for Hegseth, according to a White House fact sheet. The order also instructs Hegseth to propose both legislative and executive actions to make the name permanently U.S. Department of War. Likewise, implementing the order will require modifications to public-facing websites and office signage at the Pentagon, including renaming the public affairs briefing room the Pentagon War Annex, according to a White House official. Other longer-term projects are also in the works, the official said. Trump signaled in recent days the change was imminent. Everybody likes that we had an unbelievable history of victory when it was the Department of War, Trump told reporters August 25th. Then we changed it to Department of Defense. Hegseth, who Trump already has referred to on occasion as the Secretary of War, also expressed similar sentiments and said the change would reflect a broader cultural shift within the Pentagon. We won World War I and we won World War II, not with the Department of Defense, but with a War Department with the Department of War, Hegseth said in an interview Wednesday with Fox and Friends. As the president has said, we're not just defense, we're offense. We've reestablished at the department the warrior ethos. We want warriors, folks that understand how to exact lethality on the enemy, he said. We don't want endless contingencies and just playing defense. We think words and names and titles matter, so we're working with the White House and the president on it. Stand by. The U.S. employed the Department of War title for its military agency until 1949, when it was renamed the Department of Defense in accordance with a series of massive reforms included in the National Security Act of 1947. It's unclear if Congress, which has the authority to establish federal executive departments, will need to step in to issue final approval on the move. However, Trump previously has voiced confidence that he doesn't need approval from lawmakers and that they will get on board if necessary. Dude, he's such a banger of a president, man. Like, he really tries to push the limits, and I think that's great because it kind of reestablishes how much power the president truly has. I mean, it's almost like he's resetting precedents again. We're just going to do it, Trump told reporters August 25th. I'm sure Congress will go along if we need that. I don't think we even need that. The executive order changing the name of the Department of Defense will be the 200th order Trump has signed in his second term. 200 even, and I'm sure he was waiting for such an occasion. So let's move on to Secretary Doug Burgum. Had a great listening session with leaders of outdoor recreation and conservation groups at the White House on how we can better collaborate to expand outdoor recreation opportunities and access for all Americans. Now take a look at this picture. Isn't that a gorgeous room, man? That room is absolutely stunning. And it's in the White House. I don't even know what the hell this room is. I don't think I've ever seen a photo of this room or an image or what have you. I'm just curious. If you know what the name of this room is, drop it in the comments because I'd really like to know. All right. So anyway, let's move on to the next thing. Secretary Marco Rubio. The United States is committed to countering China's corrupt influence in Central America. Today, the State Department is announcing a new visa restriction policy that will restrict U.S. visas for Central American nationals and their immediate family members who are intentionally acting on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party and threatening our region's stability. And from CBP, another successful rescue showcasing our unwavering enforcement of public safety through coordination and specialized training. Public safety is national security. Now, I will link that in the description if you want to see that, but we've got a video here. It's from September 2nd, and it's from CBP AMO, Safeguarding the Nation from the Air and Sea Rescue. On Saturday, Air and Marine Operations El Paso Air Branch received a call from El Paso COMSAR unit after a U.S. citizen hiker had fallen off a cliff at the Franklin Mountain Mammoth Cave in El Paso, Texas, and needed an emergency air extraction. A hoist-capable UH-60 aircrew responded to the area and collaborated with COMSAR on a hoist rescue mission. The COMSAR team assessed the injured hiker on the ground and requested he be transported to the trauma hospital. The teams landed and transferred the patient to medical personnel for further intensive care due to the severity of his injuries. Let's take a look at this. I'll probably full screen it just to fit it in. If X cooperates with me. It's a little glitchy, man. Oh, there you go. My apologies for how fucking glitchy that was. Irritating. All right. So yeah, that happened on Saturday. That was pretty cool that federal agencies are rescuing even hikers. That's pretty cool. We're all in this together, man. We're all Americans. We all need to look out for each other. And this is from Homeland Security. Mayor of Seattle, why are you issuing a statement in defense of a criminal global fraudster? And it's a thread. Mohammed Chaudhry is a Pakistani criminal illegal alien who lied about his criminal history, true identity, and military service. What? Even lied about military service? Now, this has been shown to be false by DHS, and this is from Seattle Office of the Mayor, Mayor Harrell's statement on the detainment of Mohammed Zaid Chaudhry. Seattle today, Mayor Harrell issued the following statement in response to ICE's detainment of Mohammed, and community calls for his release. Mohammed served our country and was taking the lawful steps towards citizenship. Detaining him in that process is unjust and undermines faith in the system. This administration's immigration enforcement is targeting our neighbors, friends, and even veterans rather than focusing on real public safety threats. I stand with those calling for his release and for an immigration system that honors dignity, service, and fairness. My team remains in close contact with our congressional delegation and will continue to advocate for Mr. Chaudhry and his family on behalf of the Seattle community. Dude, it's like either these people are just disingenuous, or they're just low IQ, or they don't know how to Google, or they're just flat out evil, man. Just the way that they're just outright lying about this, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty details with regard to that. So the first post following up on this from Homeland Security, Chaudhry first entered the U.S. in 1998 on B-2 visitor visa after he lied to the U.S. government about his criminal history in Australia. His criminal history in Australia includes 5 counts of financial deception, possession of stolen goods, and falsifying passports. That would outright eliminate him from being qualified to secure a pathway to citizenship in the United States. You can't be a felon. You can't have a criminal history. Yeah, without any doubt. Chaudhry lied about his criminal history in Australia in order to obtain a green card in the U.S. and subsequently been denied citizenship twice, dating back to 2008, and then he applied for citizenship 8 more times while continuing to lie and provide false information to immigration authorities. This fraudster not only concealed his criminal history from the U.S. government, but he also falsely claimed that he was deployed to Iraq. Falsely claimed that he was deployed to Iraq. Department of Defense records indicate he was never deployed. This criminal illegal alien collected $449,459.82 in taxpayer dollars from the Department of Veterans Benefits Administration, according to an Inspector General's report dated September 13th of 2021. Chaudhry currently owes the United States government a negotiated payment of only $81,000 for a mortgage reduction grant from the VBA, according to an investigation. He has made no payments to date on the amount owed. Yeah, and he probably never will. After immigration officials determined he misrepresented his criminal history on immigration forms, he was issued a notice to appear by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in 2008. He appealed his final order of removal multiple times over the course of 17 freaking years. On August 21st, 2025, fast forwarding, ICE arrested Mohammed Zaid Chaudhry in close coordination with USCIS. Chaudhry appeared at a USCIS appointment in Tukwila, Washington, and was apprehended after law enforcement determined he was in violation of federal immigration law and had a final order of removal by an immigration judge. He has since been placed into removal proceedings. President Trump and Secretary Noem have been clear. There is no place in the U.S. for illegal alien criminals. ICE will continue to enforce the law across the country. Check and mate. Mic drop. And hopefully the Seattle mayor, hopefully they'll actually read that and be like, oh wow, I fucked up, because I bet they didn't even know about it. Yeah, this dude's actually pretty good at being a fraudster. Not good enough because he got caught many, many times, and he still somehow convinced the mayor of Seattle to cover for him. Unbelievably messed up. So from Caroline Leavitt, Trump administration projects $5 trillion in reduction in costs after deregulatory blitz from the Office of Management and Budget. This comes from the NewYorkPost.com. It'll be linked below. So far, the first one, I think it's the only New York Post link that should be down there, but it's possible I'll come across another one. But I don't think so. All right. From Washington, the Trump administration is eradicating a host of progressive regulations related to climate change and other left-wing causes, including an Obama-era emissions finding that spiked energy prices and a mandate requiring all executive agencies to buy paper straws. Just so retarded. The Office of Management and Budget expects that the deregulation blitz will save American businesses as much as $5 trillion over the next fiscal year. This isn't a 10-year deal. Or a 12-year deal or a 4-year, just next year, $5 trillion a year. Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vaught listed some of the actions during a cabinet meeting last week, and officials tell the Post that the more than 200 liberalizing moves are already reducing the federal government's spending. And one OMB senior official projected that the move to cut former President Barack Obama's 2009 endangerment finding, dubbed the holy grail of the climate change religion, could save trillions in unnecessary regulatory costs alone. Let's go, man. That's going to roll back a lot of regulations with regard to what the EPA had established for motor vehicles, and I cannot be more excited for that. Maybe finally, American-made vehicles will finally be reliable again, because anybody who's driving newer vehicles, and if you're over, I don't know, the age of 30 or 40, then you would know that these newer vehicles they're producing are just, they're absolute boxes of shit. They're absolute trash. They've got tons of recalls, especially from Ford. They've been leading the industry for 5 straight years in recalls, and it'll be nice to roll back some of these regulations, because then they can revert back to building stronger engines again and not having to bend over fucking backwards to try to be compliant with all these ridiculous regulations with regard to emissions and also fuel efficiency. Plus, apparently they're getting rid of that start-stop feature too, and apparently that's exciting a lot of people, especially those who are in the market to buy any new vehicles anytime soon, which, I mean, I don't know how you do it, because the average cost for a new car today is like $50,000. Absolutely absurd. Other rule cuts are anticipated to remove up to $500 billion in regulatory costs. The endangerment finding determined that several categories of emissions, mostly from gas-guzzling cars and trucks, were harmful to public health, paving the way for at least 7 additional federal rules that raised prices for energy consumers. In the unified agenda, the administration is eliminating at least 30 existing regulations for every new regulation added, Vaught said in a statement. That is so awesome. This is only the first step in the most ambitious and aggressive deregulatory agenda in American history. In addition to eliminating Obama's emissions finding, OMB officials highlighted new rules denying non-citizens federal housing assistance and the removal of the paper straw requirement in government agency cafeterias. That is hilarious. I wonder how many people who work there actually bring their own straws. Regulations have also been cut at the Department of Education and Department of Housing and Urban Development. We have achieved 109 regulatory actions, most of which are deregulatory, one senior OMB official said. You look at some of the buildings that were built in the past is because they didn't have to go through all these regulations. We have got to try to get back to that in America. At least 245 finalized rules are expected to be added to the Federal Register by the end of September. In the first term, you gave us a goal of 2-for-1 deregulatory actions to regulatory actions, Vaught explained to President Trump at the recent cabinet meeting. We came in around 5.5 to 6-for-1, and then, as you're running for your second term, you said 10-for-1. The OMB boss went on. Where are we right now? In just 1 year, basically 8 months, we are at 245 deregulatory initiatives planned by these agencies. That comes out to 30-for-1. So for every regulation that they pass, they're slashing 30 of them. This is so awesome, man. In total, the Trump administration has moved forward with around 3,600 federal rules of its own. And there you have it from New York Post. So let's move on to Senate Republicans. Senator Schumer and the Democrats have abandoned the traditions of the Senate. They've refused to confirm President Trump's civilian nominees in the long-standing customary way by voice vote or unanimous consent. But the Democrats' blockade won't last much longer. Republicans will restore the customs of the Senate and confirm the president's team. And let's see what they got down here. Historically, the majority of a president's nominees are confirmed swiftly through voice vote or unanimous consent. But right now, President Trump has had 0 civilian nominees confirmed that way. He is the only president in history to receive this unprecedented treatment. percentage of civilian nominees confirmed by voice vote or unanimous consent in the first term. They've got H.W. Bush, Clinton, George W. Bush, all above 90%, Obama 90, Trump 1, 65, Biden 57, and Trump 0. So you can see how we're rapidly getting to a hyper-partisan government. We're just splitting everything ridiculously. But look, this is all from the Democrats, man. Like, Republicans, they usually just play ball. They're usually just going by the status quo. It's the Democrats who are just going absolutely apeshit as far as everything goes. Both parties have long recognized that presidents need their nominees confirmed swiftly, and so it was for many, many years. But starting in the early 2000s, Democrats increasingly stopped confirming civilian nominees by voice vote or unanimous consent. Fast forward to today, the precedent of quickly confirming nominees no longer exists, thanks to Senator Schumer. Civilian nominees confirmed via voice vote, unanimous consent. You'll see how it just absolutely tanks. And that goes back to the 101st Congress under H.W. Bush. So what would that have been in the late 80s? Senate Republicans, enough is enough. Senate Republicans will clear the backlog of nominees and return to the traditional customs of the Senate. It's time to get POTUS's team in place so we can enact the agenda that 77 million Americans voted for. Amen. And it looks like we've got something from townhall.com. Oh, Chicago related. Now, J.B. Pritzker is refusing to clean up crime in Chicago. Quote, if the National Guard or other military troops are sent to or deployed to the city of Chicago, immediately go to court. He'd rather let his constituents be shot than accept help from bad orange man. What a shame. Yeah, the evil dictator. This is a really quick clip.
If National Guard or other military troops are sent to, deployed to the city of Chicago, immediately go to court.
Why?
So that's going to be our first line of defense, is getting a court to issue a TRO or other injunction against that activity.
Why don't you ask your constituents instead of just, playing like the all-powerful of the state of Illinois? Why don't you do what an elected official is supposed to do? You're supposed to consult with your constituency. What does the state of Illinois want? What does the city of Chicago want? It sounds to me like a lot of them welcome this. I mean, look at the mayor of D.C. She's now welcoming the federal agents, and she even went as far as to sign an executive order forcing the D.C. police to fully cooperate with federal agents, and there was no expiration date signed with this executive order. It goes on indefinitely. All right, from Senate Judiciary Democrats, Senator Welch, who won the 2020 election? Trump nominee, President Biden, was certified. Welch, did he win or did he just accidentally get certified? Nominee refuses to answer. Let's take a look at this.
Who won the 2020 election?
Senator President Biden was certified the winner of the 2020
who won?
Election. Well, Senator President Biden was certified the winner of the 2020 election.
Did he win the election, or did it just accidentally get certified?
Senator, I've answered that question. He was certified the winner of the election.
I yield back.
Damn, she's a cutie. All right. Yeah, I mean, just answer the question, but I get it. I get it. It's politics. That's what they do. Democrats do it way, way more often than Republicans do. If you watch any committee hearing, that's just all they do. They just play these word games and they just try to skirt around what's really obvious. However, I mean, there really is no way to know for sure because Democrats, they blanket balloted, these ballots all over the place, and they were harvesting ballots all over the place. And then when it came to counting the ballots, I know specifically it was either in Philadelphia or in Pittsburgh. In the counting centers, they kicked out the poll watchers, the Republican poll watchers, which is illegal, but they did it anyway. And then they put brown paper up over the windows in the middle of the counting process. Now, why did they do that? It's almost as if they dumped a shitload of ballots that had no reason to have been there in the first place. It was almost as if those ballots didn't otherwise exist, but then they just willed them to be, and then they threw them into the counting process. Or they took tons of Trump votes and just threw them all in the trash can. So, yeah, I mean, I can't exactly blame her for not directly answering that because, there's plenty of us who don't believe that Biden actually did win. But look, that was a blessing in disguise, in my opinion, because if Trump went straight into a second term in 2020 or in 2021, I don't think he would have been nearly as effective as he is right now. Because if you think about it, he had 4 years off to study and to consult with constitutional scholars and all kinds of people. I bet he really lined his ducks up for his second term. that he's in right now. And I honestly just think that he's doing a far more effective job right now than he probably would have if he had just rolled into the second term without having that 4-year period to prep for this insane second term that he's going through right now. It's absolutely amazing. All right, so this is from Andrew Ferguson. Great thread from Burham, DC. This is one of the most insane things I've ever read. Lower courts are openly defying the Supreme Court and taking a sledgehammer to the rule of law. The Supreme Court cleans up their mess, and then some of the judges anonymously gripe about it to the press. What cowardice. And this is from James Burnham. Some lower court judges seem determined to burn down the village in order to save it. Seemingly obvious that destroying vertical stare decisis will destroy the judiciary generally. Let's review the latest missive in lower court judges' war on the Supreme Court. Exclusive. Federal judges tell NBC News the Supreme Court has got to do a better job of explaining emergency rulings, with frequent decisions in favor of Trump at least appearing to validate harsh criticism of the judiciary at a time of rising. Let's see. Now I know that there's, okay, so here, I'll just go to this one. This is part 2. I think there's like 14 of them, so it's kind of a long read, but I'll try to get through it real quick. And I mean, according to what's his name, this is a banger of a read, so let's find out for ourselves. First, the basics. The Constitution creates only one court, the Supreme Court. It authorizes Congress to create inferior courts, but does not mandate them, and the judicial power of these subordinate courts is entirely subordinate to the Supreme Court. And I'm not going to read through everything. If you want to pause the video and read that for yourself, it's Article 3 of the Constitution. Judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court. When lower court judges defy the Supreme Court, as has been happening time and time again, that is lawless, plain and simple. The president has Article 2 arguments to invoke when he interprets and considers judicial commands. Lower court judges have nava vis the Supreme Court. That's why the lower court revolt is so destructive. Without vertical stare decisis, we no longer have a functional legal system. We no longer have law in the basic sense of predictable and consistent rules. We just have the whims of scattered district judges. So let's turn to the article and the specious claims several judges anonymously passed to NBC to criticize their superiors. First, they repeat a claim that others made. Judges are trying their best to follow the law, but are just confused about the right answer. And I'm going to take a quick drink of water here. All right, let's move on to the next one. Come on, some judges are taking extreme positions. Supreme Court emergency orders are not binding. The Supreme Court stayed the TRO, but not the identical PI claims, or PI, I think it's PI, claims for money can be in district court if they invoke constitutional claims to rule against the administration. These judges are not attempting to rule in a manner consistent with how the Supreme Court would apply the law. They are trying to manipulate the law to achieve their preferred outcome. This is the imposition of will, not the application of law. These judges then, incredibly, have the gall to complain about their willfulness meeting a predictable, swift demise at the Supreme Court. Tip: if you don't want it to look like you did shoddy work, then start following the Supreme Court's lead. And 10 of the 12 judges who spoke to NBC News said the Supreme Court should better explain those rulings, noting that the terse decisions leave lower court judges with little guidance for how to proceed. But they also have a new and concerning effect, the judges said, validating the Trump administration's criticisms. A short rebuttal from the Supreme Court, they argue, makes it seem like they did shoddy work and are biased against Trump. One judge complains that the Supreme Court isn't backing up the lower courts, a truly astonishing claim. The justices took an oath to uphold the law, not get the backs of lower court judges trying to wage war on the executive branch. This is inexcusable, a judge said of the Supreme Court justices. They don't have our backs. Okay. Some of the judges claim the Chief Justice should speak out, as he has otherwise thrown them under the bus. First, the chief should, in my view, speak only in official communications, primary opinions, press statements, and hold on, let me just read that one more time. I'm sorry. First, the chief should, in my view, speak only in official communications, primary opinions. Press statements are too political for the justices. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. With tension so high, 4 of the judges said they believe the Supreme Court, and specifically Roberts, the head of the judiciary, should do more to defend the courts. The Supreme Court, a second judge said, is effectively assisting the Trump administration in undermining the lower courts, leaving district and appeals court judges thrown under the bus. No, not at all. They're interpreting the Constitution. That's what they're fucking supposed to be doing. Second, and again, when lower court judges assert their power based on will rather than law, they are jumping under the bus. Nobody is throwing them there, and the Supreme Court is duty-bound to correct such errors. Want less criticism? Do law better. Nor do I have sympathy for the criticism that the justices need to write more for the public's sake. The justices are dealing with an unprecedented onslaught of lower court emergency orders against the administration. Of course, they will be issue more emergency orders too. And the Supreme Court has an obligation to explain rulings in a way the public can understand, a third judge said, adding that when the court so frequently rules for the administration in emergency cases without fully telling people why, it sends a signal. The court has had strong left-leaning majorities in the past, but what is different now is the role emergency cases are playing in public discourse. At least one of our anonymous judges, an Obama appointee, we are told, can see what's really going on here. But the judge added the whole Trump derangement syndrome is a real issue. As a result, judges are mad at what Trump is doing or the manner he is going about things. They are sometimes forgetting to stay in their lane. Hamilton wrote in Federalist 78 that the judiciary is the least dangerous branch because it has neither force nor will, but merely judgment. Through lawless orders, inappropriate leaks, and other acts of defiance, some lower court judges are testing that proposition. And let's see here. Oh man, that is very, very tiny. All right, well, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to move past it because it's really small and it's, I mean, here, let me just take a quick look. I mean, if it's important enough, I'll read it. It's difficult with these freaking arrows in there in the way. All right. Anyway, I'll link this whole thing into my X profile if you want to check it out. It's at Spathon with an N at the end. So looks like the final one. Yeah, the last one. District judges have life tenure to ensure they have the independence to apply the law correctly. It is not so they can apply the law they wish existed. Justice Gorsuch was correct to admonish the lower courts. The Supreme Court must remain resolute in enforcing its dictates. Lower court judges may sometimes disagree with this court's decisions, but they are never free to defy them, he wrote. No, they're not. It is absolutely true. So there you go. That's the whole thread. And I will, you know what? Let me go back to this so I can link this. I'll just repost it. All right, there we go. And we'll move on to FBI Director Kash Patel. The incredible work of this FBI stopped a potential school shooting. After the suspect was released on bond, we moved quickly to arrest him and secured federal charges to keep him detained and our children safe. Quick action and phenomenal intelligence work saved lives and kept families whole. Patel says FBI stopped potential preschool massacre, unacceptable acts of cowardice. North Carolina man charged with making online threats to massacre dozens of black children. Holy shit. That's good, man. That's good they got him in custody. Fucking A, man. What is this piece of shit? All right, this is going to be from Fox News. I don't know if they'll have a video clip on this, but we'll see. It just depends on if he talked to him or not. No, that's a different video clip. Actually, here, let me see if we can listen to it. I think Fox News' auto article or reader might actually sound a little bit better, but I don't know. We'll find out. Let's just take
Patel says FBI stopped potential preschool massacre. Unacceptable acts of cowardice. FBI Director Kash Patel said his agents thwarted a potential tragedy after arresting a North Carolina man who allegedly threatened online to massacre dozens of black children at a preschool. Zachary Charles Newell, 25, of Newport, was arrested Monday and is charged with interstate threat to kidnap or injure, according to a criminal complaint filed September 2nd in the Eastern District of North Carolina. Threats of violence against children are beyond unacceptable acts of cowardice, Patel wrote in a statement to Fox News Digital. The FBI worked quickly with our partners in Carteret County to ensure this individual was taken into custody before he could act. Parents should know we will never hesitate to respond with urgency to protect their kids, their schools, and their communities. Prosecutors allege Newell posted a comment on YouTube under the username Commentators Hate Me on August 27th, stating his intention to shoot up a preschool, injuring or killing 20 black children, among other violent and racist threats. The day before, he allegedly posted another vicious race-related threat under the same account, which included a number of slurs, according to the complaint. Google LLC reported the threats to the FBI's National Threat Operations Center on August 31st, having linked the Commentators Hate Me account to an email registered to Newell, with associated phone numbers and an address. Law enforcement traced the account's IP address to Charter Communications in Newport, and on August 31st, Carteret County Sheriff's Office deputies confronted Newell at his home. Newell allegedly admitted to making the YouTube comment, according to the complaint. A search warrant was executed at his home, and he was initially charged in state court with communicating a threat of mass violence on educational property. The Carteret County Sheriff's Office told Fox News Digital Newell was given a $30,000 bond by a state magistrate, where he was able to post bond. Later that evening, the Sheriff's Office worked with the FBI to take him into federal custody on federal charges. Additional charges will be forthcoming by the FBI. FBI North Carolina Special Agent in charge James C. Barnacle Jr. told Fox News Digital every child deserves to go to school without fear. Your FBI will work with local, state, and federal law enforcement partners to investigate threats directed at schools, Barnacle wrote in a statement. This federal charge should be a warning to anyone who believes they can sit anonymously behind a keyboard and make violent threats. The Sheriff's Office said there were no specific preschools or educational properties mentioned in the threats, and there is no active threat of violence at any Carteret County schools. The comments posted by this suspect were violent, hateful, and shocking to the conscience. Carteret County Sheriff Asa Buck wrote in a statement to Fox News Digital, "Our office worked swiftly to take this subject into custody and worked with the FBI to subsequently have him placed into federal custody. Suspects who make these types of comments will be dealt with as severely as the law allows." The contents of the suspect's alleged comments were not included in this report due to their highly disturbing nature.
Oh, really? Alrighty then. Well, it's probably too hot for YouTube in that case. So that'll be linked if you want to check it out. And move on to the next article, or next post, rather, from Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Today marks another milestone in the U.S.-Japan alliance. Thanks to POTUS's leadership, the U.S.-Japan trade agreement is now officially implemented by executive order. This agreement strengthens our economic ties, supports American workers, and reaffirms our commitment to a new golden age of prosperity and partnership under President Trump. And this is from the White House. POTUS has signed an executive order officially implementing the U.S.-Japan trade agreement. And we've got from whitehouse.gov, implementing the United States-Japan agreement. And this is going to be a long read, as these usually are. I mean, yeah, it actually goes on for quite a while, but we'll see if they at least give somewhat of a summary up here at the top. And again, it'll be linked, whitehouse.gov. By the authority vested in me as president, and by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, the National Emergencies Act, Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962 as amended, Section 604 of the Trade Act of 1974 as amended, and Section 301 of Title III United States Code, I hereby determine and order. And yeah, it actually goes quite a ways. So he announced a framework agreement between the U.S. and Japan, lays the foundation for a new era of U.S.-Japan trade relations. Let's see. I'm just trying to see if I might be able to grab just like a couple of points here. The United States will apply a baseline 15% tariff on nearly all Japanese imports entering the United States, alongside separate sector-specific treatment for automobiles and automobile parts, as well as aerospace products, generic pharmaceuticals, and natural resources that are not naturally available or produced in the United States. And Japan, meanwhile, will provide American manufacturing, aerospace, agriculture, food, energy, automobile, and industrial goods producers with breakthrough openings and market access across key sectors. And the government of Japan is working toward an expedited implementation of a 75% increase of United States rice procurements within the minimum access rice scheme, and purchases of United States agricultural goods, including corn, soybeans, fertilizer, bioethanol, as well as other U.S. products in amounts totaling $8 billion a year. The government of Japan is also working to accept for sale in Japan, United States manufactured and U.S. safety certified passenger vehicles without additional testing. Separately, Japan will purchase U.S.-made commercial aircraft as well as U.S. defense equipment. And let's see. The government of Japan agreed to invest $550 billion in the United States. That was the big one. That was the one I was looking for. Over $500 billion. And then it gets into general tariffs under Section 2, and then aerospace, Section 3, automobiles and automobile parts in Section 4, and products not subject to reciprocal tariffs, which details in Section 5. Section 6, monitoring and modifications and delegation for Section 7. Section 8, interaction with other presidential actions, and then general provisions for number 9. And it was signed Donald J. Trump, September 4th of 2025. So that'll be linked below if you want to take a look at that. And let's get back to the main list here. All right, from ACYN, Cassidy, do you agree with me that the president... Hold on. Okay, I think he might have double typed that. But Cassidy, do you agree with me that the president deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed? RFK Jr., absolutely. Cassidy, but you just said that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID. RFK Jr., I did not say that. All right, well, let's just take a look and see what happened.
Economy's an incredible accomplishment. Mr. Secretary, do you agree with me that the president deserves a Nobel Prize for Operation Warp Speed?
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. That was phenomenal.
Let me ask you, but you just told Senator Bennett that the COVID vaccine killed more people than COVID.
Wait,
that was a statement.
I did not say that.
Okay, then let me ask, because you also
Senator, I just want to make clear, I did not say that.
We'll check the record. That's a question of fact. You also said that you were also, as lead attorney for the Children's Health Defense, you engaged in multiple lawsuits attempting to restrict access to the COVID vaccine. Again, it surprises me that you think so highly of Operation Warp Speed when, as an attorney, you attempted to restrict access.
All right, well, I mean, that's interesting. It's interesting, and he's a Republican too. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a comment on that other than, yeah, Trump shouldn't have rolled out the vaccine so quickly. I mean, it was crazy times in the moment. I mean, in hindsight, yeah, it was absolutely insane that actually played out the way it did. I mean, Trump did what I really appreciated that he did was that he just withheld power, and he handed all the COVID issues down to the states and let the individual states decide whether if they wanted to lock down and all that stuff. As far as like the vaccine killing more people than COVID did, is that, I mean, apparently that's true. And supposedly RFK Jr. said that. So I find that to be quite interesting because I know there were millions of people or 1 million, maybe 2 million people that were killed from COVID in the United States. It was somewhere around there. I'm pretty sure it was over 1 million. So yeah, if the vaccines killed more than 1 million people, dude, that's crazy. Wouldn't exactly surprise me though. From JD Vance, when I see all these senators trying to lecture and gotcha Bobby Kennedy today, all I can think is, you all support off-label, untested, and irreversible hormonal therapies for children, mutilating our kids, and enriching Big Pharma. You're full of shit, and everyone knows it. Whoa, what a fucking banger. Look at that, 190,000 likes, 5.5 million views. That went a little viral. But he's absolutely right. And that's what they keep doing with those puberty blockers and hormones and all this crap that they're putting into minor children, and in many cases, prepubescent children in some of these blue areas. They're injecting them full of these drugs because these insane parents, probably more often than not, they're single mothers, and they got Munchausen's probably. That's probably what they have. Or they're just desperate to virtue signal to the cult. They want to be a member of the club. They want their kids to be those special people that get extra special treatment because they're transgender. So anyway, from Caroline Levitt, Google CEO, major tech leaders join First Lady Melania Trump at White House AI meeting. Again, from FoxNews.com. Be nice if we had a little bit of variety here. I think this is the second or third. Oh no, okay, it's the second. I thought this was the third Fox News article. Google CEO, major tech leaders join First Lady Melania Trump at White House AI meeting. The First Lady will host the AI task force meeting before the president hosts Zuckerberg and Gates and others for dinner. Dude, why Bill Gates, man? I mean, how involved is he really in this whole like AI shit? I mean, isn't he all about like this whole like philanthropy bullshit that he's been doing? So tech leaders to attend the White House AI meeting. We'll just play the video clip. I'm sure it summarizes what the article is going to read out anyway.
First Lady Melania Trump meets with top tech CEOs and the White House Task Force on Artificial Intelligence Education to chart a course for securing America's future with AI. Patrice Onwuka is the Economic Policy Director at the Independent Women's Forum, and she joins me now. Patrice, good morning. Great to see you. So AI front and center at the White House today. Is this a good use of the First Lady's time?
Well, actually it is. I mean, the First Lady has carved out for herself a space in
it's what the First Lady does.
We saw her take on, you know,
got to think of the children.
Images of kids online, making sure that those types of inappropriate images get taken down. And so now I think she's looking at how can I advance the president's agenda of really incorporating AI adoption across the United States.
Yeah, because Trump's leaning pretty heavily into AI.
And bring that into children.
It's pretty smart she's taking up this initiative.
Growing up with AI, utilizing it,
in my opinion,
becoming really adept at it when they enter the workforce.
Okay, so after this meeting, the president is hosting a dinner with top tech CEOs at the newly renovated White House
Except Bill
Rose
Gates,
Garden.
I don't think he's a CEO,
and
is he?
People in attendance include Bill Gates, Tim Cook, Mark Zuckerberg, Google founder Sergey Brin,
Dude, Bill
and
Gates
CEO
is a dinosaur,
Sundar
man.
Pichai. Why do you think the president wants to host this dinner?
Well, all of these CEOs and their companies have big stakes in the AI game and the AI race. The Trump administration has really embraced AI in development and being a global leader in a way that the Biden administration really didn't. And so I think these CEOs see an opportunity here with an administration that wants to take a light regulatory touch to
In fact, the Biden administration did everything they could to handicap our progression into the AI race against China because all this renewable bullshit. So what they expect us to use solar panels and wind turbines to power an entire AI infrastructure? It's fucking retarded, man.
Development of
absolutely
AI.
Ridiculous.
And so why not get on the president's good side and talk about what they're doing, what they're planning to do, and how and what he's trying to do with the AI task force and just his across the board approach to artificial intelligence and really embracing it.
And Patrice, yesterday, members of the Trump administration met with House Republicans to talk about messaging ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. If you can believe it, we're already talking about the midterms. And one of the big things to come out of this is this rebrand and name change of the big, beautiful bill. Republicans are now going to be calling it the Working Families Tax Cut. How do you feel about that name change?
You know, I love it. Why? Because at Independent Women, before One Big Beautiful Bill was the name, we were talking about
as long as it does what they say it's going to do. I got no problem with it.
With the tagline of earn more and pay less. And I think it's important for American families to understand that this bill really was about keeping their taxes low and then adding new tax savings. You know, whether you're talking about eliminating taxes on tips and overtime, you know, the interest you pay on your car loan, even the new savings for seniors and the Trump accounts for babies born over the next few years. These are really big, important ways that the American family are going to see take-home pay rise significantly. And that, unfortunately, got lost. The narrative got hijacked by the left, who focused on the right sizing of welfare programs. And so this is a way to say, okay, folks, this is actually what's in the bill, not what you've been lied and led to believe it's in there.
Yeah, this is like when Twitter changed to X. It's gonna take a little while to get used to the new name, but Republicans say it better explains what this law does. Patrice, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really going to take hold. It's going to if they're going to change it, but I think a lot of oh crap, it's gonna hold on. Let me see if I can. It's not going to start up, is it? Okay, good. I mean, a lot of people are just going to assume that it's a completely different bill. I think your everyday American citizens, they're probably not going to know that it's the exact same thing, especially not on the left. They're not going to know that. I mean, they're just going to do anything they can to confuse their voters. All right, so from Social Security fact check during Commissioner Bisinato's meeting with Senator Warren, he presented improved customer service metrics and welcomed an independent review of the data. The reality is SSA employees are serving more Americans at quicker speeds, and this is responding to Elizabeth Warren. The Trump administration is lying about how long people are stuck waiting for help with their Social Security benefits. I pressed the Social Security commissioner and got him to agree to an independent investigation. Instead of fudging the numbers, do your job and help people. And of course, from CNN, leftist CNN, Social Security says agents answer the toll-free phone line in 8 minutes on average. Here's why that's misleading. So they actually posted, let's see what they posted here. It's from ssa.gov. And I don't know if it might just be a typed out version of this letter, but this letter is addressed to Elizabeth Warren regarding a letter she sent to Social Security Administration on July 27th following an in-person meeting 4 days earlier. But yeah, just basically talking about, wait times and customer service with Social Security. Oh, it is. Yeah, it's the letter. So, of course, I'm not going to read through all of it. Answering calls faster with new technology. But what I was really interested in, because the last time that I talked about this, there were people in the comments that were pushing back saying that I do receive Social Security. I was on the phone with them and it took forever. And then there of course, there were a couple that said that they had no problem, that they answered the phone quickly and everything. See the data for yourself. Let's see. I could say for a fact that SSA customer service has improved vastly from a year ago. Even the online experience is so much better. Thank you all to the people involved in the improvements. They gave very few metrics. The letter should have had a lot more, in my opinion. They've done a significant job improving their process. You're still working with the Mountain. She's a lying hypocrite. I'm a Trump loyal, but the letter is lying. I've been trying to straighten my SSDI out for 5 months and have been on hold every time over 30 minutes, many times being disconnected before an answer. I can't get anyone to return calls. It's a joke. I've had over 30 interactions, voicemails, messages left, and still no one responds. See, that's what I was expecting to see down here. I wish the SSA and the VA would work together to automatically approve 100% permanent and totally disabled veterans for their earned SSDI benefits, or at least fast track the process somehow. Answering is not talking to the customer. It's hard to get things done through Social Security. My mother with dementia quit receiving her SSA. I got no help until someone helped me become her representative. I got her SSA going back to her account. I tracked the missing payments to someone's account. I pushed SSA on this for a year only to get gaslighted each time. Typical. Well, the Biden administration was in charge back then, at least a year ago. Good morning, Social Security. Have a good day. Okay. Nothing. Okay. All right. So anyway, this is just it. So there is some pushback. Some people are claiming that it's not as good as they say it is, but you're not gonna be able to make everybody happy. If you're in customer service, especially if you worked on a call center or you've been in that environment before, there's peak times. There's times in the day. I don't know for Social Security. Maybe it's like from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. There's certain times of the day where they get a huge influx of calls all of a sudden, and people just sometimes got to sit on hold. If they hire thousands of people to answer calls, then the majority of those people who are hired, they're going to be sitting there doing nothing for 4 or 5 hours while they've got, like when they're operating not during that peak time and call volume. But yeah, apparently the website's doing better. I think what a lot of customer service entities have done in recent years is that when you call and they put you on hold, they ask for your callback number and you can put in your phone number, and then they'll call you back once you're at the front of the line. I've done that quite a few times. I think my cell phone provider does that. There's a couple others that do that, and I actually tried it and it worked. They called me back. I was on hold for like 30 seconds and then somebody picked up and I was good to go. So hopefully the Social Security Administration is doing that, because that would be a good idea. All right, from the GOP, President Trump is making DC safe again. DC crime stats, carjackings 85% down. Robberies are 42% down, and violent crime is down 24%. You got to beef up that number, man. Only down 24%. Let's get that up to the 85% mark. And from Chairman, as soon as that gets out of the way, Chairman Grutters, this is a disgusting smear of millions of Virginians. Ghazala Hashmi should be ashamed. Abigail Spanberger and every other Democrat running in Virginia should immediately condemn her running mate's racist remarks. That's spicy. Insane. Virginia Democrat Lieutenant Governor nominee Ghazala Hashmi agrees with a professor who literally says the majority of voters in Virginia are racist. It's very disturbing. Racism is so latent and so much a part of the society. Let's take a quick look at this. It's less than a minute.
To me, what is worrying is if we buy the argument that this manufactured indignation has racist overtones to it, then it also tells me that majority of voters in Virginia are racist, or at least susceptible
well, yeah, the
to racist
majority
dog
of
whistles.
Democrats
It's very disturbing.
voting in Virginia are probably racist.
I've been talking particularly to
You forgot to include the word Democrat.
young folks who are of Hispanic background.
They see everything
or
through a
Asian
racist lens.
background, and what's
Always
really
have.
disturbing to them is this idea that racism is so latent and so much a part of the society that people could respond to these kinds of flagrant dog whistles that we heard throughout the Youngkin campaign.
I mean, Democrats they've been like that forever. Ever since they lost slavery, they lost, and they got all pissed off about it, so they formed the Ku Klux Klan. That was Democrats, not Republicans. Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican president. Andrew Jackson was the first Democrat president. And no, the parties didn't flip. That's fucking retarded. So, all right. Anyway, I don't want to get up on that soapbox. So let's just move on to the next one here. So from the White House, FLOTUS, First Lady of the United States. So I meant to group those together. Obviously I didn't, but that's okay. So First Lady hosts White House Task Force on AI Education, encouraging focus for America to lead. We must manage AI's growth responsibly. During this primitive stage, it is our duty to treat AI as we would our own children, empowering but with watchful guidance. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, oh man, I can't remember who the fuck it was yesterday. Some official who worked, I think, in the Defense Department, somewhere in the military, they were talking about how we, like, it's time that we fully give the controls over to AI and start, like, letting AI take a front seat to certain operations. I was like, are you fucking crazy? I don't think we're anywhere near that yet, man. AI is still practically brand new. It's only been a thing for just a few years, and you're willing to start handing over, certain military operations over to fucking Skynet? Are you insane? No, not yet, man. We gotta let some shit work out first.
Leaders and parents, we must manage AI's growth responsibly. During this primitive stage, it is our duty to treat AI as we would our own children, empowering but with watchful guidance. Today, in this room, is filled with the brightest minds of our time. As such, I challenge you to focus on 3 strategic priorities of AI's ecosystem, so America can lead in shaping a new, magnificent world. Infrastructure and energy, national security, and of course, talent. We must ensure America's talent, our workforce, is prepared to sustain AI's progress. And the Presidential AI Challenge is our first major step to galvanize America's parents, educators, and students with this mission. English is a new coding language for many, and with it, creativity will flow from every corner of America, sparking new industries, careers, and jobs.
Hopefully.
By supporting the Presidential AI Challenge, you are investing in our youth, America's next era builders.
Yep, definitely Gen Alpha, probably Gen Z. I know that a lot of them are aging into adulthood, but yeah, they definitely should be, at least in the school system, public schools, maybe down on the parental level. I mean, if any of you out there have kids and you're tech savvy, wouldn't be a bad idea to look into certain, I don't know if they have any like AI education for kids on how to use it. And like, I don't know. I'm not very well versed on AI. All I keep hearing is that they're planning for AI to really get infused into our workforce in a major way. I hear on one side that it's going to destroy large amounts of jobs. And then I also hear that it's going to create a lot of jobs, but I haven't really heard a whole lot on what exactly these jobs are going to be that are going to be supported by AI, these new jobs. Not so sure. So, all right. So this is from the GOP. Hitachi Energy U.S. investment announcement, $1 billion for U.S. electric grid expansion and $457 million in manufacturing expansion in Virginia, boosting power in Virginia. They unveil a $457 million investment in the state. The Trump effect. And from Ben Pershing, Trump vowed to halve electricity prices, but they're rising twice as fast as inflation. Oh, of course, it's from CNN. No, it was rising because alternate energy, renewable energy is a lot more expensive than our standard electricity, especially with regard to nuclear and hydroelectric. I mean, that's where we're going to get the savings. Because in the United States, on average, if you average out every month of the year, and across America, I know electricity is cheaper in some places than in others, but electricity is about $135 a month per household on average when you average all the months together. I know sometimes it's a lot more expensive. Like, I live in St. Pete, Florida. Right around now, like the month of August especially is usually the most expensive month for electricity. And like during the winter months, I mean, like sometimes I don't even pay $100 for electricity for a whole month. But yeah, usually during this time, it's like $250, something like that. But anyway, Trump vowed to have electricity prices, but they're rising twice as fast as inflation. Uh-oh. Oh, okay, CNN. All right, well, you can go fuck yourself then, because I'm not subscribing to shit. All right, well, here, let's see if we get a little bit in the comments. But I know the Trump administration, they've already rolled back lots of regulation with regard to nuclear. So they're trying to rebuild the nuclear infrastructure, which is really going to be significant to our power grid. I have heard arguments that a lot of, if not all of the nuclear power that's about to come online in the coming few years, it's going to be used for manufacturing and for the AI infrastructure and basically for private public companies. And it won't be directed toward residential. However, a lot of those companies that are already in operation, they're probably using the same electric grid that residents are probably using in the same city. So if they're going to be pulled away from that and they're going to go online with these new nuclear facilities, then that should alleviate more or our electric bills, at least, I would assume. So I don't know. Okay, so I dropped a couple of comments here. Millions of illegals are a burden on the electric grid as the system wasn't prepared for tens of millions of people to draw from our electricity virtually overnight. Remove millions of illegals, electricity demand reduces, supply increases, rates go down. They're working on it by rolling back heavy regulations against nuclear energy and clawing back renewable energy funds because solar and wind doesn't lower electric bills, it raises them. We have plenty of years outside the Trump administration to demonstrate that. By having, Trump really means doubling. And greed, don't worry, he'll fix it in 2 weeks and 8 to 10 days. He lied. People were stupid to believe him. He's undermining clean energy and making electricity more expensive. No, dude, renewable is a lot more expensive. They've been implementing and rolling out solar panels and wind turbines, and I haven't heard of any single place in anywhere in the United States where their electric bills went down when renewables are rolled out. Still have yet to hear of a place. If you know of a place, like for real, like put it in the comments. Tell me what city or a zip code, if you got a zip code, as far as where they've rolled out renewable energy and the electric bills, like for real went down. Because I'll talk about it. I mean, I really will. I'm just being honest that I still haven't heard of a place where they've had a reduced electric bill because of renewable energy. All right, so let's move on to the next one from Rep. Chip Roy press office. Rep. Chip Roy on congressional stock trading legislation. It's now game time. We need to vote on it. So I know Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, she spoke with alongside with AOC and a couple of others yesterday during a press conference with regard to this. They do have a plan to bring it to the floor. And if they get pushed back, they've got a plan B where they're going to somehow come up with a way to force a vote to ban stock trading. And I think right now is the perfect time to do it, because if they're forced to wait till next year, it's just not going to happen because it's a midterm election, even though it would definitely be in the politicians who are looking for re-election, would certainly be in their best interest to vote for it if that were to come up for a vote during the midterms, because everybody would be praising those politicians who ban it, at least those who are paying attention. But all right, anyway, let's give this a watch here.
Have you had
with
conversations
Matt Gaetz,
with the chairman of the House Administration Committee, Republican Brian Stile, about getting this on the agenda so that it can be moved forward?
I have, and look, I'm a little circumspect about talking about private conversations, but you know how this process works. Brian and I have had conversations. I've had conversations with the speaker just today on the House floor. They know very well where we all are in terms of our belief that this bill needs to move. And it needs to move quickly.
It does.
So
immediately.
We're going to keep having those conversations. We're going to keep pushing. Again, I'm for all the input in the world, but it's time to
ban stock trading on the House floor in Congress.
I mean, we've had this issue out there for 5 years at least. I introduced the first bill that I did on this.
Yeah, it should apply to every single politician on the state and on the federal level. It should apply to anybody who's an elected official. And the reason I say that is because the states, they have their state level legislation. They've got their House, they've got their Senate, and companies, every company, they have to operate in one state or another. And so there's a lot of these massive companies that they're set up shop in whatever state that it might be. And I'm sure there's insider and stock trading that's going on down on the state level too. There has to be. I'm sure there is.
In 2020 with Abigail. So that's been 5 years.
5 years they've been trying to do this.
Bringing it up, and I'm now tired.
It should have been done fucking 100 years ago.
Vote on it. I promise you this. We're out vocally putting out our support for it. The people
yeah, make
who
noise.
oppose it, who have you heard out there doing it loudly or vocally? You haven't.
Good point.
Because they know it'd be upside down politically.
Absolutely.
They want to try to kill it behind closed doors. That's why I want an open process. I want regular order. Put it in committee, vote on amendments, bring it to the floor, vote on amendments, pass it, send it to the Senate, and let's make this a thing.
Yeah, and I hate to believe.
Well, if you're vocal or if you're involved in politics enough, write your representative. Whether if you want to send them an email, actually calling their office would be the most effective thing you could do. Just call them and leave them voicemail after voicemail telling them that they better fucking vote on this or else I'm going to make a lot of noise on my end to make sure you don't get reelected.
Belabor the point, but it's sort of delicious because you think to yourself, gosh, something so popular with such a unique cross-section of members of Congress supporting it, the House administration must be doing stuff that is so important. It is more important than members of Congress trading stocks. And I looked up and they are passing Democrat amendments about whether or not the Space Shuttle Discovery will remain in the Smithsonian.
Yeah,
so
I saw that bullshit. It's ridiculous.
To hear the bills, Representative Roy has been filing for 5 years about congressional stock trading, but they are taking up and debating the operative question about whether or not the Space Shuttle Discovery should or shouldn't.
Yeah, there will be politicians that are going to really be trying to fight against this. And just like you said, they're going to do it extremely quietly in the public eye because they don't want their constituents to know that they have ulterior motives when it comes to them supposedly serving their constituents, but they're only serving their own personal bank account. And yeah, I'm sure there's probably a lot of politicians who stand to make millions of dollars because they know that there's certain pieces of legislation that are about to come through and they've already set up their stock portfolios and they're ready to cash in on it. Or maybe not cash in on it, but they're ready to see it skyrocket once certain legislation passes. So, I mean, we're talking millions of dollars for a lot of people. I mean, look at Nancy Pelosi. Like, what is it? $400 million that she had made on insider trading while she was not only Speaker of the House, but when she was just in Congress in general. Oh, no, but it was my husband. I didn't do it. It was my husband. That's his thing.
Not have an exhibit in the Smithsonian. That to me demonstrates the tactics of what Representative Roy is up against. But I want to ask you about
the silence be deafening.
Then shift and quickly get your sense on where this government funding battle is. So if you get this bill up, it does pass, right?
I cannot imagine that if we get this bill or a version close to it on the floor, that it would not pass. I cannot imagine that the members of Congress are willing to go home to their constituents and go explain to them why they would oppose this. Tweak it, make it better, all fine. There are some reasonable debates on how to make this work properly, but there is no debate that we should clear this issue off, restore trust in Congress, eliminate this from the issue. Again, you can take your investments, you can put them in a broadly held trust fund, mutual fund, and allow it to be at the S&P 500 or whatever you want, but get out of the business of trading equities, that 100% are interfering with your ability to do your job.
100%. Absolutely. And they did a poll, something like 95% of people who answered that poll said that they are absolutely in favor of this passing, and they believe that no politician whatsoever should be engaged in any kind of stock trading at all. And if you want to, then don't take a job in Congress then. Don't be an elected official. All right, and last thing I got is from Mike Lee, base Mike Lee, Senator Mike Lee. Audit the Fed, then end it. Hashtag end the Fed. And that's in response to Rand Paul. No other institution holds as much power over our lives as the Federal Reserve. It's time we audit the Fed and expose its secrets. And we've got Rand, audit the Fed. And that is it for today. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me if you do. And I'll drop a new show every evening during the week, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, and everything else. And I also post daily episodes over on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. And I thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.